Trade reports are escalating for the New York Rangers as an NHL insider has revealed that it's actually happening. Chris Drury is about to pull off a Vincent Trocheck trade, and we're going to break down exactly what the specifics on this trade are, what the return is, and not only that, the Rangers have made multiple roster moves in anticipation of a very busy week leading up to next week's trade deadline. We're going to break down all of that and more in this episode, including a very interesting tidbit on Chris Drury from last night as well. We're going to break that all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we get into all of that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, and at the end of the day, it is free to subscribe. So go down below, hit that free subscribe button, and you can stay up to date with everything that's going on with the Rangers. And I've also seen some confusion out there on Facebook, guys. It is the follow button on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. See all you guys out there. The sport is unbelievable. Continue to follow us, and again, you get to stay up to date with everything that's coming out on the Rangers in real time. But let's get into the first report. Let's waste no more time. This is from Emily Kaplan, and she said on the broadcast on Twitter, this was making the rounds before the game, during the game, and certainly after the game, and of course, a disappointing loss. I mean, if you want the Rangers to win, but let's be honest, at this point, anything that gets you closer to the first overall pick, I'm for. But anyway, she goes on to say, I think it's very likely Vincent Trocheck is dealt. I think there is a deal to be had with the Minnesota Wild, shocker, guys, that centers around Charlie Stramel, who we broke down on the channel before, and I'm going to get into him in a second too, a 2027 first-round pick as well, and of course their 2026 first-round pick went in the Quinn Hughes trade, so a young player or prospect, and we'll see if that goes through. Drury knows this is his biggest trade chip. They might shop him around to see if there's a bigger deal around, and a lot of people want a bigger deal. I'm going to get into that as well, to be had, and maybe that deal is to be had over the summer, which of course Vincent Trocheck has term. They don't have to do that this year, but everyone seems to believe, when I say everyone, all the insiders seem to believe that Chris Drury is ready to pull the trigger on this deal now. So there is a very high chance, from Emily Kaplan again right at the bottom there, that Trocheck is on the move this deadline. Now, if you look at the centerpiece of this deal, of course, it's a first-round pick next year, but there's also Charlie Stramel. Now, a lot of people are saying this is not a needle mover. This is something that, you know, a lot of people are saying this would be a disappointing trade if that was the return. Now, Stramel looks like he's going to be a great player. So far this year, he has 40 points in 30 games. Of course, in the NCAA, he's been putting up some pretty good numbers, but a lot of people are also saying that he could possibly top out as a third-line center. Obviously, if this is the biggest trade chip in the league in Vincent Trocheck, which is everything we've been told for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks at this point, and he had a big role in the Olympics and all that stuff and the penalty killing, blah, 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 right? Second line center for this team. If he's the biggest trade chip in the league, you should get a massive return, right? Of course, that first round pick helps next year, but at the same time, it's the Wild's first round pick. It's probably going to be a pretty low draft pick or high draft pick, however you want to look at that. But, again, I think it's an interesting report. And if you're looking at Charlie Stramel, does he move the needle? Let me know in the comments below. I think that could make some sense. Of course, Trocheck's probably at the height of his value right now with the term left on his contract and the fact that the Wild want this guy. So I'm not saying to trade him just for the sake of trading him. I don't think that's ever the answer in any situation. But I do think that there is a pretty good return to be had. And I think there's other teams involved here as well. But it's just, you know, the worst kept secret in the league that the Wild want this guy desperately. And Bill Guerin will do almost anything to get him. Now, this is from Michael Russo as well. I'm still having doubts if the Wild can get this done. If the Wild aren't going to give up Yurov, which would be a bigger piece and would be, you know, that would make it a lot better. And a lot of people would be on board with that too. I saw that online last night too. So I just don't know where I would put it percentage-wise. I just think other teams are going to be able to do better. So that's the biggest thing for me, and that's what I'm seeing right now. There's a holdup in terms of the return. The Wild want this player, and Bill Guerin wants to make this go through. He wants this to get done. Chris Drury is motivated to move this player, but he wants the best return possible. Now, what is the best return possible for Vincent Trocheck? Well, if he played for a different team, it would be a massive package. for Chris Drury, he likes, as we've seen so far this season, to get his Halloween candy stolen and then his pants pulled down by every other GM in the league. And that's essentially what we're seeing in real time. And that's the reason also I believe he was booed last night, which we'll get to in a second as well. So it probably won't be as much because Chris Drury is executing the trade, is my point. But at the same time, there could be a bigger deal out there that's not the Minnesota Wild. That's just what I'm seeing out there right now from, multiple different insiders reports, that there's other teams kicking tires. I think Detroit's in the mix too, but Detroit's kicking tires on other things right now and probably will circle back because the ask is seemingly very high for Vincent Trocheck, as it should be. Otherwise, you hang on to the guy, I guess, at this point. There's, he's not a UFA or anything like that. If he was a UFA, this would be a no-brainer, of course, but he's not. So that was pretty interesting. And in terms of other trade things, and let me know in the comments how you feel about Vincent Trocheck. Would you even trade Vincent Trocheck? I know a lot of you guys don't want that to happen, and some people are not necessarily on board with that. I think that with the term left on his contract, the height of his value, all of those things, don't trade him for the sake of trading him. But there's a deal to be made here, I think. There's other teams involved. I think the Wild still probably have a decent package on the table. I feel like he will be traded, and this will be his last week as a Ranger. But Brendan Othman's also in trade conversations right now. He's spending some time on the fourth line as well. And this is from Frank Saravelli, that one other name that's come up and been out there recently is Brendan Othman. A couple teams are interested to see if a change of scenery helps. Now, a lot of people I saw out there again, I'm just presenting this to you guys, what I'm seeing out there. A lot of people are like, oh, just take a 4th round pick for Brendan Othman. This guy's a former 1st round pick. Don't just trade him for the sake of trading him. I'd rather, for a 4th round pick at this point, just hang on to the guy. He has NHL experience at least, right? So just hang on to the guy. He's still relatively young. He has good AHL numbers. Just can't figure it out in the NHL yet. And the coach in place also hasn't been giving that much of an opportunity to some young guys. Gabe Perreault looks very good, which is good. He looks comfortable, which I really like, and I think that's fantastic. And speaking of Gabe Perreault and some roster moves and some guys going between the AHL and the NHL, Brett Berard has been reassigned to the Hartford Wolfpack, and there was another roster move as well, which includes the ECHL. That doesn't necessarily matter, but Brett Berard was sent back down. Brandon Brisson got into the game yesterday, which was pretty interesting. We'll see how much ice time he gets going forward, if he gets put back into games where he's playing in the lineup, stuff like that. But I thought that was a pretty interesting thing too, because he has had decent numbers in the AHL as well, so he earns an opportunity to get into the lineup. So that was pretty cool to see too. This from Vince Mercogliano. Obviously last night, Fox, Sheary, and Shesterkin activated off IR, so somebody had to go back down to Hartford. All those guys returned to the lineup. Adam Edstrom, they're still giving him some time to get up to speed, get his timing right. So he was practicing on the 4th line, didn't play in last night's game. He will return to the lineup soon, and they are missing him. Of course, right now, you probably want to tank, right? Like, I think everyone's kind of hoping that you continue to string together losses, because if you look at the Metropolitan Division right now, you're at the bottom of it. You're one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, the worst team in the Eastern Conference, I should say. If you look at the whole scope here, you're awful. So you want to continue losing to get that high draft pick, and thank goodness they didn't give up this year's and they gave up last year's instead. All that being said, I think Adam Edstrom's a fantastic penalty killer, and he does play a role on this team on the 4th line, so I'm excited to see him back. And he's dealt with some injury troubles in his career so far. Obviously, he missed the last bit of last season, due to an injury as well, so it's going to be nice to see him back in the lineup. And in terms of the trade plans, last thing we'll touch on all of this, this is from Morning Cup of Hockey as well. The Rangers are going to continue to sell off pieces, and they may continue doing that next season as well. So that's another hint that maybe Trocheck is held on to if the package isn't quite right. But everyone is on the table. If your name is Shesterkin, Fox, or JT Miller, you're safe. If your name is not one of those guys, you are on the table. And Mika Zibanejad's name is not included here, so I thought that was very interesting. I don't think that happens this year, but they're not going to be any good again next year. This team's getting younger, more inexperienced. We will see how that plays out. A couple last things I want to mention before I wrap up here. The Rangers honored all the Olympians yesterday. Of course, coaches, players, and managers, but the only one that was booed was Chris Drury, essentially booed out of the building. It was so loud when he was mentioned first. General manager and president of hockey, Chris Drury, booed out of the building. The other guys cheered and obviously did a bit of a lap to the players, which was cool to see. So pretty interesting. Last thing I'll mention here before I wrap up, waivers, and this is going to come out first thing in the morning. So he's either going to clear waivers, or I think the Rangers have an interesting opportunity here, and not just the Rangers, but other teams as well. So we'll see how many teams possibly put in waiver claims on him. But Ty Cartier was put on waivers by the Seattle Kraken, and I think he's a interesting case. I mean, if you look at his contract, $1.25 million. He has another year left after this year. He's only 24 years old. He's had a very disappointing season. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it at all. Not much there offensively. Not really much there defensively. Like, he's not a guy that really like blocks shots or anything like that. So a minus player. He's barely playing 10 minutes a night. So not great, but I wonder if, look where the Rangers are in the standings, where they are as a team. I wonder if you give a guy like this a look, because again, you're going to have cap room heading into next year. This team's going to be very young, and you can afford his cap hit for that 1 year. So maybe you take a chance on a guy like this. I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out there. I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but if you look at, previous seasons, he has put up some points. Like, he's been pretty disappointing. His first NHL season wasn't that bad, but considering he was a rookie, but hasn't done much since. But I just wonder if you change the scenery, you give him a look. He's only 24 years old. I don't think he's going to do anything of any consequence or any impact. But again, I wonder if you just give the guy an opportunity with where the team is at and just see what he does. So just wanted to throw that out there. Of course, by the time you're watching this, maybe he already cleared waivers, or maybe another team picked him up, but I think it's an interesting idea. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the comments below. It looks like it could actually be happening. Vincent Trocheck could be on his way out of New York before next week's trade deadline. We're going to keep you up to date with all the newest reports on that, because it's going to be a busy week, not just for him. There could be some other moves on the Rangers made as well. Let me know how you feel in the comments below, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.